Verse of the day. Today's verse of the day, we're going to talk about how my God is able, how my God is willing to do above and beyond anything I could ever hope, dream, or imagine in accordance with the promise of His word and in alignment with His will. And no matter what His will ends up looking like, I will follow Him and I will worship Him. This is the heart posture of our verse of the day, and it is the heart posture we must pursue for the attainment of His will for our lives. That this life of mine is no life of mine at all, and never really belonged to me in the first place, for I am not called to love my own life, even unto death, and if I lose it for His name's sake, I will find it. He called me, chose me, and changed me, not to hope that things go the way that I want, but instead that I would look like Him in the moment when things don't. He calls me a light to so shine before men as His reflected image, bringing glory to Him, that others would know that He is God, that the light that He shines through me might ignite that same fire within another. And speaking in line with another in the fire, let's get to our verse of the day and the three Jewish boys who shone what it was to look like Him in the moment, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So, in Daniel chapter 3, King Nebuchadnezzar has this golden image set up, and he calls for everyone to worship when they hear the sound of this certain music playing. And the consequence for not bowing down to this image would be that they were tossed into a fiery furnace. Now, Nebuchadnezzar gets word from this group of Chaldeans, who were known for their practice of astrology, that they had some Jewish fellows that he himself had appointed to preside over Babylon, who had no intention of bowing down and worshiping anything but their own one true God. Needless to say, Nebuchadnezzar was pretty ticked off, and he demanded an audience with these Jewish boys, which leads us to our verse of the day, and it comes out of Daniel chapter 3, verses 14 through 30. And bear with me, it gets good. And it says, Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my God or worship the gold image which I have set up? Now, if you already at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, and symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, then good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and He will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed towards Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, and the fire exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?" They answered and said to the king, "True, O king. Look," he answered, "I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God." Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here." Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire, and the satraps, administrators, governors, and king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they have frustrated the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree that any people, nations, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this." The king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So, Who will deliver you from my hands? This king is asking in a very matter-of-factly kind of way, and the response that these boys give is a slap right in his face, to say the least. They have no need to answer, they say. Basically, what they respond with is, who are you to even ask? We serve the one true God, and in case you didn't know, this is who he is, and this is what he is able to do. And regardless of what he decides to do, I will continue to worship him because he is true. You may think that you have the power and authority here, but you are putting yourself up against the one who has all the power and all of the authority. These men understood the assignment. They understood that their own lives meant nothing in comparison to the revelation, authority, and will of the Father. That no matter what situation or what tribulation finds its way to them, that circumstance should produce nothing but the glory of God in and through them. And so it did. There were many peoples of many tongues, which is to say, many people of many beliefs, that were made to worship a false idol. But through the obedience of 3 faithful believers, the truth of the glory of God was made evident for all to see. The manifestation of God's miraculous working in our lives, and by proxy in others, is found in the obedience and surrender of our will for His. And so it was as they trusted in God, as they walked into this fire, the only thing that burned away from them was that which bound them in the first place. Sometimes surrendering to and trusting in God may seem like we are giving everything up, when the reality is, it sets us free from everything we were never really meant for. And what is revealed in that burning is the one who walks with us through that fire, the one who walks beside us, who goes behind us and before us, who sets us free from that which binds us. And the blessing that these 3 received at the end of this story is a manifestation born of the surrender and obedience that culminates in the revelation of identity found in and through relationship with God. They knew who they were because they knew who He was in them. Their heart posture was never that of seeking out a blessing because they already had it. And this is a point that I need to drive in. The relationship that they already had with the Father was the reward and would be the thing that sustained them. And I hope this has been a blessing to you, and I hope you have a good night.